I will share my screen. Okay. So I want to believe everyone received my mail like probably like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, saw it.
Okay, cool. So there is like a SQL query in the code. I extracted it from the AdventureWorks database process of trying to read a SQL query. Because for instance, if you are hired as a new data analyst, as a SQL developer, or as a SQL writer, and they have an existing project that is being powered by SQL, maybe for instance, they have a Power BI or Alteryx that is leveraging the SQL Server database or Oracle database or the Redshift database or Amazon, wherever all those databases, you should be able to read the code, not only to write, you should be able to also read the code that someone else have probably written in the past. And to read a code, you need to know how the query order of execution of SQL works. Because if I say select from a particular column, from a particular table, select a particular column from a particular table, and I added the group by and the other by to it. If you are not so very probably comfortable in writing SQL, and you just want to do like you want to cheat, and you just copy all those code and you're trying to insert all the columns into it, it might not work if you don't really understand the order of execution of that SQL. So I think that is very, very important. You need to pay attention to what each of the SQL clause does before we try to write do an Anton today. So what I'm going to do is that for each of the SQL clause, I'm going to write like a small example. Then afterwards, and I'm going to write like a line of code that's going to contain all the SQL clauses. So the order of execution is most times, if you look at this, it's just select. We always some people, if you are not probably data savvy or probably SQL savvy, or you don't have an experience on how to write SQL, you might think select these things is the first order on this SQL line of code. No, it's not. So for every SQL code, it's going to start from where? So if someone gave you, for instance, they just gave you this database, let's assume you don't even know how to write a SQL code. And someone is trying to say, okay, fine, you know what, Mr. ID, I want you to probably pull, I want you to pull some column from a particular table from me. The first thing that's going to come to your mind is that if you are not SQL savvy or you don't even know how to get into the SQL Server environment or use the SSMS, your first question is that, okay, please, I want you to pay attention to this because these are interview questions. As a data analyst, if they ask, okay, fine, before you can even have an access to a SSMS environment, the first thing that you need to have is that you need to have a valid and verified username that's going to be created on the organization Active Directory before you'll be able to access this environment. The first thing is your access permission. After the access permission, your role in that organization is going to determine the type of permission, the role level they want to assign to you for a particular database. If it is a kind of they want to give you like a kind of a higher advanced role level, they want you to be able to access whatever I want to access. So they might give you a read and write permission. Well, basically the standard is that if you are not a DBA administrator, if you are not a database administrator like SQL Server administrator or Oracle administrator or Redshift administrator or Salesforce administrator, you are not expected to have write permission. You should only have a read-only permission simply because the DBA is going to be the one to set you up with the help. Is going to be the one to give you the role level permission with the help of your security or server or IT team. It depends on how the organization is structured. I worked with a friend of mine recently. He got a job with one pharmaceutical company in Pennsylvania. Each time he's requesting for an access, he has to go through his boss. Fine, that's nice. In ServiceNow, whenever you put in a ticket to request for a permission, your manager is going to approve that, right? So the way their own data security governance work is that you have to go through your manager, wherever you are requesting for, and your manager is going to be the one to approve your ticket before the IT team will work on it. So in my own organization, the way it works is that I don't know, maybe you guys are familiar with ServiceNow. The ServiceNow is like a ticketing platform. It's pretty very similar to Jira, to Confluence. It all depends on how you're using it. We use it to document projects, and we use it to submit requests. So whenever your request gets to the ServiceNow administrator, they're going to be the one to assign it to the appropriate person, individual that is going to work on it. And once they assign that ticket to the person that is going to work on it, you'll be receiving a notification as a progress as they go along treating the ticket and stuff like that. That's how it works. So once you have an access to your database environment, to your SSMS, to your SQL Server, and you get into the database, let's assume you don't even know how to write SQL, and you see all this table. What need to come to our mind is that, okay, fine, which of this table am I going to pull wherever I want to pull from? Since we know that we want to pull column from particular tables and write wherever I want to write, do the data massaging, and our output is going to be in form of a table, right? So what will come to our mind is that, okay, fine, am I using table A or am I using table B? So here, the AdventureWorks 2019, this is the database name that contains all these tables. So for instance, if I want to pull something from the Human Resources Department table, let me give you a short clue to it. If you don't know what that table does, and there is no data dictionary for this AdventureWorks 2019 database, ideally, the database diagram supposed to be accompanied by a data dictionary that will explain the documentation of this AdventureWorks 2019 database. That is the standard database diagram in form of ER diagram and the data dictionary. But if none of those are in place, the next thing for you to do is that just come to all this table. Then you start doing a kind of manual investigation. Click on the Human Resource Department, right click on it and select the first 1000 rows. So let's wait for that to load. Aha. So once you have your output, this will give you an insight of what the table even looks like. Now I can see that this table has department ID, it has a name, it has group name, it has modified name. And I know that my primary key by default is going to be the department ID because this is a unique ID that is attached to each of this record in this database. You can see none of the ID was duplicated. We have 1, 2, 3, all through 18 or 16. And each of them have their own name and has their own group name and has the modified date column. So that is how to do that. So the first thing to do, the first line order of execution in SQL is going to be from what? Okay, I want to pull the name and the group name from the Human Resource Department. The first thing the SQL engine is going to do is that it's going to go to the database first. And another thing, in a SQL Server engine, we can have multiple databases. So when you are doing your during your business understanding, during your data understanding and data preparation phase, the customer should be able to tell you the database that store or that house the table that you use for your project. If you don't know that, you have to consult the DBA, the database administrator that is managing the environment. So the IT jargons for environment is, they always call it tenant. They'll say tenant, Microsoft tenant, Azure tenant, Outreach tenant, Power BI tenant, or they say Power BI environment. So they always use it interchangeably. So once the DBA tells you, okay, fine, you know what? I think the table you need is in so database, and these are the columns you need. Then that makes your work to be very easy. That's one point. So the first order of execution is what? The first order of execution is from. So now I'll write it's a very simple syntax to cover from. Then the next one is going to be join. So I'm going to write that, and I'll show you how it works. So let's do, okay, now we are using the human resource departments as our reference table, right? So I'm going to just do new query. But we can start with select, right? So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to do select, just for me to be able to populate the select clause with my own value. I'll do select star. So when you do star 8, okay. When you do star, it means select all. So let me do, I'm going to do this, select all. Okay. So that means select all the columns for me. I don't know whatever columns I want to select. I just use the star as a kind of a placeholder. Then I will do from. So what is my database name? My database name is the adventure, right? I'm going to do the open square. I'm going to select the adventure works using my tab or my keyboard. Do tab. Then we'll do dots. I'll open another square again. I want to do woman. Can you see it's by default, the intelligent pop-up, the human resources. I'm going to do tab again. Then I'm going to do dots. If you take a look at it, you can see that it says the real name is the database, which is the parent, database that houses all the tables in the database. Is the Adventure 2019. I just want you to follow the syntax. And the last part of the human resources department is what? Is department. Then I'm just going to use my down arrow to select my department, and I'm going to do tab. So now you can see this from is referencing my Adventure Works 2019, also referencing the database object, the DBO. The DBO name is human resources department. So if I skip the human resources and I only put the department, the code is not going to work. Let me show it to you. Let me run this, and it's going to return an error. Let's run this. Can you say invalid object name? Invalid table name. Object name means table. So invalid Adventure 2019 department. Another thing is that you need to learn how to troubleshoot. Whenever there is an error message, you can see it says message 208 level 16 state 1 line 1. This is line 1 of our code, right? So for us to fix this problem, we just want to do open square. Then I will do the resources. Start from here. I'll do resources. Sorry, I'll do woman resources dot department, right? So let's give it a run. So it means I said from my human resources department table, select all the table. So I'm reading from where? I'm reading from bottom to the top. From select. So let's go back to the to the other execution. Can you see where the from is? From is at number 1. Can you see where select is? Select is at number 5. Can you see that? So the order of execution is that the database engine will go to the table and see if the column you want to output exists in the table. That's how it works. So let's do this just for you to know what I'm talking about. Now we have, I said select all from this table, right? So let's do something. I know that the department ID, the name, the group name, the modified date exist in my table, right? Then let me just use something that I believe doesn't exist. Let's use gender. So if I click on this, can you see the error message? It says invalid column name gender. So that means the gender name column does not exist in this table. That's what it means. So for us to proceed, before we proceed to the next order of execution, I want to show you how to alias a column and how to alias a table. So now I can say, well, before you can alias a table, you have to come to your, let's do star, let's keep it as star, that will be on 8. And I will say as hash, right? So now, instead of writing all these every time, do you get what I'm saying? Instead of writing all this adventure 29, woman resource, blah, 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 I gave it an alias of hash. So if I run it, it's going to run. Now, let's do something. If I say, open bracket, if I say name and close, can you see it ran, right? It ran simply because I'm only referencing a single table, and that table has a name. But if I'm writing a code that is referencing 2 tables that have name and name, it will require that I specify it as. Can someone tell me what to do? You guys should be very familiar with this. Can someone
Maybe table 1 and table 2.
So no, this is what I'm on.
You indicate the table you are getting it from.
Yeah, so I will indicate the table. Yeah. Okay, so I will do hash, right? I will do hash. Then you see by default, the IntelliSense also sends the hash that I created. Then I will do dot name. So it's going to work. Can you see that? What the select is doing is that from the hash table, give me the name column, and that is it. So if you want to output the other ones, you do comma, other column. You also do hash dot. Can you see? By default, the IntelliSense pop up the department ID, the group name, the modifier name. I'm just going to select the group name. And let's give it a run. It's run. So I want you to pay attention to something here. The open square bracket only works for when you are pulling the database name and the database object. So if I remove the square bracket from this, it's still going to work. So that's that. So that is how to alias the table, right? So let's try an alias. Let's try an alias one of the column. So let's do name as Billy. Can you see it works? And you need to pay attention to this, because when we start performing like a kind of an aggregate function where we need to open a bracket like count. I want to count or perform some operation on a particular column. I have to open bracket and close it and give it an alias. So that will be the code will be very easy to read. So that's that. So alias a column and we have alias a table. So let's go to the next order of execution. So this is where, right? So the second order of execution is join. Okay, join. So for the sake of this hands-on, I was investigating a table that we use. So let's use the let me bring my annotation table. Let's do text. So for the sake of the class answer, we use purchasing dot product product vendor, and we use production dot work order routing. So before we proceed, let's check together. The purchasing product vendor so purchasing product vendor is here. Let's check. Okay, just delete it. Clear all drawing. So we have the purchasing product vendor. Where is that? Okay, this is it. So we have the product ID. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to do right and select up 100. Okay. And we are also using the production work order routing. Okay, we're also using this. Top 100. Okay. So these are the two tables we are using because I need to perform a join operation, right? So can someone tell me what are the ID that I can use to join the two tables together? Purchasing product vendor has product ID. The production work order routing has product ID. And the purchasing products vendor has business entity ID. And I think the only ID they have in common is what? I think is the product ID. Do you guys want to agree with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start from my production work order routing. Do you guys want me to open a new query for it and write it? Or you want, okay, let me just open a new query so that you won't get confused. So I'm going to do new query. Then I'm just going to select all this for the sake of time. Okay, don't let me select it so that we can learn. I'm going to do select just as a placeholder, star. Then I'm going to do from my adventure work 2019 dot open bracket square bracket production tab production dot work order routing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Work order routing. I'm going to work order routing. Okay. So I'm going to execute that. So I'll bring in my first table, right? And we said we want to join with product ID in the production work order routing, right? So this is what I want to do. For me to break down my code so that everything will not look so cumbersome, I'll give this AdventureWorks 2019 production.work order routing an alias or whatever the way you want to call it. Alias of A from
What?
A.
Why not give it APW?
Yeah,
Because
okay.
you're
Let's
going
give
to
it.
add to
Okay, APW. I can make the other one to be my B anyways, but that's fine. So APW, that stands for Adventure, Production, and Work Order Routing. That's what these acronym means. We all know that our the key we use to join the two tables is what? The product ID, right? So what are the columns that I want to probably return from my APW? So let's see what is going to make a lot of sense for us. So I just want to return, I'll prefer to return the planned cost, the actual resource hours. So I'm just going to do APW dot, can you see the IntelliSense pop-up what is under the APW table? I'm just going to select the, for the sake of that, let's do location ID. We'll do comma. We do another APW dot. Let's select the planned cost. We do comma. Then we do APW dot. What other things do we want to select? The actual cost, right? The actual cost should be at the top. Okay. Now we have the location ID, the planned cost, the APW. Do you think I have to include the column that I want to use to join the two tables? Okay, for the sake of for learning's sake, for the beginner, I will add it to it. Then I will do, can you say the product ID? Then I'm going to select that. So if I run this, since I've specified the column that I want to see from here, right? Then the number of columns that I will have in my output is going to change from, we have, if you count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I just want to see 1, 2, 3, and 4 columns from my APW. So let's give it a run. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So the next thing is that from APW, I want to join. And you can see that in our other sequence, we have from and join, right? So the next thing for me to do is to do the joining of the two tables. So I'm going to do from APW inner join. We have different type of join. Okay, maybe after this class, I will explain what each of the join means by this code. I'll try the inner join, the left join, and the right join. Then we'll see how it behaves. Then we'll be able to know when to use outer join, left outer join, and when to use the right join. Inner join. So from APW, that's our first table. I want to join the second table. So I'm going to do square open bracket. Then I'm going to do adventure.
You didn't add it. You just said inner. The join is not there.
So, okay, sorry. Inner join. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't have my glasses on. Let me just put it on. So the adventure dot what? What table are we joining?
The
purchase season. Yeah. Can you see? We have the purchasing from the IntelliSense. Then we do dot product vendor, right? So what is the alias are we giving this?
APP.
So this is going to be APP Okay. So now we have the APP. And what are the columns that we can return from the APP? Let's see. I need the standard price. So then I will come to my select statement and I will do APP dot. Can you see the IntelliSense pop up the APP table alias? And I will select the max order quantity. And I'm going to do APP dot mini order quantity. And I'm going to do APP dot author. I think I need something that has money. Standard price. And I'm going to do APP dot what other things I can select from here. Standard price measure, unit measure code. So let's just leave it as. Okay. Let's just leave it like that. Then I said inner join from this APW, inner join APP, and the next statement is going to be on APW dot what? We are joining by what? By the product ID. On APW is equals to APP dot what? Dot product ID, right? So now I've joined the two tables together. So the form is having, then I have to delete this. Oh, let me try and see if I can. Okay. So at the end of the select line of code, you don't have to put a comma. If I put a comma, it's going to throw an error. Can you see? This is an error. So I have to delete this and let's give it a run. Okay. It ran successful. Oh, can you tell me what happened? Both have product ID. Well, I think their product ID does not match. 74478. Can you see?
Wow.
Please give me 2 minutes. I'm going to be back. Okay. So now we have established that the product key that we assumed that we can use to join the two tables seems to have proven that the product ID from the two, I have to remove, okay, sorry. So the product ID from both tables does not have the same value.
You said we have 7 what?
We have 7, let me remove this top 100. So we have 7, 4,
anything like 784.
There's nothing like 784. Can you see the 7 start from 716? So I don't want to use the example I have in the material that I sent to you. I want to use something entirely. So let me just take a look at something real quick. A business entity ID. Do you have anything that have business entity ID? Or you guys can research if you have anything that have the same product, any table that have the same primary key ID value, then I can use that to illustrate
I'm
the
looking
example.
at the transaction history, production. But I need to be sure that I
Yes,
have 784, 794, 797, 798, 799, and 5 and 8, 800 and forward.
for the transaction history, right? Production
That's
transaction history.
history, yeah.
Okay, so let's switch to production transaction history. Production transaction history. Okay. Select 100. Okay. I think we can use the production transaction history to replace. Okay. Let me start from this. Select all. 8. Adventure. Sorry.
It will work.
Yeah.
It's going to work.
Okay, from adventure.
Then
we do production dot transaction history. So we have 788,449.
Sorry, I have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Now, are we not considering the readability of our code? I mean, the line of code, so that it will be easier for one to read and it will not be too cumbersome or complex. Now, the adventure, we know that we are working on the database AdventureWorks 2019. Once we put AdventureWork, can't you just pick the table alone? So that we say select from transaction history and see, let's see how it's going to behave, because everything we are writing now is still on AdventureWorks 2019.
Okay.
So that to make our code readable. Then when we are going to alias, let us alias with a letter, so that even when you want to go through the line of code, it will not be too much. It will make it neat and very easy to read. So let's check, maybe the code is going to run like that without adding the database name to your or the schema.
But okay. if we have another database that is not adventure.
Yeah, let's give it a shot, Mr. ID. It's not going to hurt us. We are all learning. I know it's not going to run anyways, but let's give it a shot. It run? Wow.
Now, the table we are using now is production.transaction history. I knew it is going to run because everything we are doing so far is inside that database.
Oh, okay. Okay. Simply because we have a single database in the database engine, it will work. But by the time we bring in,
you have two databases and you want to put tables from the two, then you have to specify the database.
Okay. So for the sake of the beginner, let me tell you this. Like now we have AdventureWorks 2019, right? The reason why this works is simply because we are only working with this database. By the time we have 2-3 databases, it is very important that we specify the database name. Because if you are pulling a data from this database and you're pulling a data from another database, and you probably run into error and you want to fix it, do you get what I'm saying? You might be finding it so difficult to know which of the database, the tables, or the database objects are coming from. Mr. Fash, thank you so much for that. But I think the reason why you are able to identify that is simply because you've worked using this type of database configuration in a live database. When you are working from probably working in a live environment, a production environment, you don't have to specify this. You don't even have to. Do you get what I'm saying? It's simply because this this was a database that we recovered from Microsoft and we push it into our SQL Server and we are running it in SSMS. In a live database, all what you just need to do is that regardless of if it is an environment, is a production environment rather, all these database is going to be there. Whenever you are just looking for a particular table, once you put it from, automatically it's going to fetch it from anywhere. Do you get what I'm saying? Because once you have an access to this engine, so wherever table or databases that is contained with this engine, whenever you call that table, you don't have to even put this database name. It's going to pop up by default. So this IntelliSense that you're seeing right now, if you have all other tables in all other database that is probably related to this, the IntelliSense is going to pop it up. It will give you an opportunity to select the database you want to use. Here, you know, we are selecting the table, right? Like for instance, let's do something. If I do T, no, this is only popping up the columns, right? Or popping up the table. But if you are in a live environment that contains production environment that contain different databases, it's going to pop up the database and the table name. Do you get what I'm saying? So you don't have to specify this database at the beginning of your code. Is that clear?
Then also I have another suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
For easy understanding, when we are doing this join, let's just for those who are just for other people who really don't have the knowledge to really game up. Let's pick one table. Let's not pick 2, 3, 4, 5 tables, so that it won't be complex for them to understand.
We are for this answer, we are not using 3 tables.
No, what I mean is columns. I'm talking about when we do join now. Let us just pick, if we pick the ID, the common column, and another column, so that it will be easier for one to understand. They can go from there, adding more columns on their own.
So the reason why I want to choose more column is simply because I want to show them how to perform aggregate function. It's pretty very easy. And for me to perform aggregate function, can you tell me the type of column that I have to select? I have to select a column that has what? Do you want to try? Anybody want to try? What?
I mean, that has a figure.
Yes, God bless you. That column must have figure.
Audit column.
Yeah, so that's the reason why, like, I'm looking for the actual cost, looking for the column that has quantity. Do you get what I can perform a count operation on? I can perform an average on, I can sum, I can select the max, I can select the minimum. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the reason why I'm trying to select maybe 2 or 1 column from each of the table. Oh, thank you so much for that, Mr. Pash. So let's give this a run. So in this table, before we proceed, I want us to be very, very careful. So now we have just the transaction ID, the product ID, and the reference order ID. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, they are all IDs, right? We have transaction date. We have transaction type, right? And we have quantity. Okay, fine. We have different quantities number. What about the actual cost? Oh, nice. So let's give this an alias of so let's give it an alias of probably PT. Let's use PT, so that whenever we are trying to read our code back, we know that it's okay. This is production transaction history. Let's use PT. And for the PT, I want to select PT dot let's do are we joined with the product ID, right? Let's choose product ID. And let's do PT dot transaction type, right? Let's do transaction type, comma PT dot quantity. And let's do PT dot what? PT, the actual cost, yeah. So that's that. So let's give it a run. Now we have, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 column. So we are joining this table to which table? Then we are doing inner join. Inner join. So what table is that?
I think,
That's the production, purchasing product vendor, right?
no, it's the other one, not this. That's a
Production,
work order.
okay. So we'll do production dot work order routing or work order routing.
But I think I use work order, sir, but I don't know if work order routing. We can try it.
So let's see, don't let us waste a lot of time. Let's see work order. Okay, let's use work order because I can see we can use order quantity and stock quantity. So let's do work order as what? As PW, right? So here, we want to do PW dot order quantity, right? Order quantity, comma, PW dot, want to do, let's do script quantity. Let's do script quantity and the other one. Stock quantity. Let's do stock quantity. And let's do PW dot script quantity. Then we do on PT dot, are we joining with the product ID?
Yeah.
Equals the PW dot product ID. We still need to return substantial number of records.
We are even not seeing the table names. Even if it doesn't have a record, we are supposed to see all those columns.
No, it's still executing. No.
Still executing.
Okay.
Okay.
Still executing. Because the total numbers that we have here is 460 records. We didn't use this, we used this. Why is it taking too long? To restart the system. Okay, this is the work order. 748. So the work order just finished running, and we have product ID. Is it 748 or 784? So even for 748, we even have up to 479 records. I don't know why this is taking too long. 748. The other one is we have production transaction history. Production transaction history. Where's that? Transaction history.
Actually, I don't know what really happened, but I did it and I was able to get an output, though I didn't specify particular column. I just used star.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I have filtered down by, I guess my system is slow. It's about to
So maybe that's the service. Maybe that's the service. AB.
So where product ID equals 748. Can you see? We have 386 here again for 748. Oh, something is wrong. And we have 748 here. We have 479. I might have to stop this and do it again because it's supposed to work. So this, I ran the production work order separately, and it worked. I think we have a question. Okay.
But since we have even reduced the number of columns to fetch from,
It
so
should-
that one should
shouldn't-
even be faster.
Yeah. So let me just stop it. I will stop it. Query was cleared by user. And let's rerun it. It shouldn't take too long. I'm using my other laptop today. Relax. But this shouldn't take too long. Hmm.
Try and pause it and run it again. Let's see. You can pause it. Let's see.
Want me to pause it?
Yeah. Try and
Yeah.
execute it again. Let's see how it's gonna be.
PT product. Oh, okay. Let's do something. I'm going to remove this product ID. Transaction PW PT. There is a way. Let me stop it. I'm just going to put this. Let me use the star. So I just commented this line of code out. And let's do this. Then something is really wrong. Oh. Mr. ID, can I send this code to you? Try and run into your own computer.
Okay,
Let's see if it's
selected. Listen, okay, yeah.
Let's see how it's gonna work.
Okay.
And other people can also try it as well. This is a very simple code. We shouldn't be having problems. So anyone can just copy that and paste it. It should work.
It worked now.
It works for you, right?
Yeah, let me drop it. It worked, but I also noticed that executing query is still running continuously.
Oh.
So I guess it might be maybe I don't know. Are you using hard disk or the SSD?
I don't even know. The computer I'm using today is not as robust as the one I used previously.
Okay.
It's an old laptop. I think that's the problem. So that's gonna be a challenge.
Where's the laptops? Maybe it's full.
So it runs, right?
Yeah. It worked, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it worked for me too.
Okay. So I think tomorrow I have to switch to a better computer. So let's just close it. I'll be writing the code. I'll be putting it here, and I'll be sending it to you for you to test out. So the next thing is this. So we've established that from the from clause, the next one based on the order of execution is what? Is the join. So now we have joined two tables together. So the next order of execution is what? Is the where clause. Can someone tell me the difference between the where clause and the haven't clause? I put that at the bottom of this. So let me go there and explain it right now. So
The where clause, you use it for the having clause. Yeah, I know it's used for aggregation when you're having aggregation. So you can use the having clause and the where clause. You can go. The two of them can go together with by, but the having clause always come when you're having as aggregation function.
So I think that is right, but pretty very close. So the where clause works at the row level. The haven't clause work at the group level. You know, the where level, the where clause is when you're trying to probably filter based on a particular value. The where clause is not based on your final result. Whenever you have an aggregate columns, maybe you're performing an operation like some operation, performing averaging, stuff like that. And at the same time, you still have to like filter. The where is for like where clause is for filtering, right? Where gender is equals to what? Is equals to female, or gender is equals to male. I can't use having clause for that. Do you get what I'm saying? The where clause is used at the group level, the record level. What do I mean by record level? Let me show you something. Okay, let's see this. Still gonna try running this. I'll run this and I'll just leave it. So for instance, let's use this. You know, we have all these from our production worker order, right? And I just want to select based on a particular, maybe let's say, I just want to say a quantity order. Let's say, let's remove this. Okay. We even have a where clause. Can you say, I say where product ID is equals to what? This is a row level, right? In the record, let me remove, okay, let's do this. Control Z. Let me just uncomment this. Let me rerun this. Mr. Fash, I want you to pay attention to this because I want to answer your question. You are pretty very close. Because where clause, there is a reason why we use where clause and there is a reason why we use the having clause. So if you take a look at this record, we have 1,000 rows, right? Right? This is 1,000 records. And the product ID is from probably 722 to whatever something. And now I just want to see only the product ID with the product ID 748. Let me uncomment this. So if I use my where clause, by default, it's going to reduce the number of record. It is used at the record level, the row level, trying to discard some rows from our data set, discard some row, remove some rows from our data record. That is what we use the where clause for. So if I run this, Can see now I have 479 records that I've removed almost 521 records from my data records. So this is how to use a where record. Do you think I can use an having clause now with this code?
You cannot.
Okay.
Because you've not actually invoked the aggregate function in the select in your select statement.
Yeah, so God bless you. So the where clause has been handled, and it says the having clause is then applied to the rows in the result set. Mr. Fash, are you getting it? Once the where clause has filtered that the main primary data set, what is giving us is what? Is the result, right? Because it is an order of execution. Once the where clause will operate, will perform its own operation. Once it returns the result, that is where the having clause will pick from it. And the having clause will pick only when we have declared a column that is aggregating in our select clause. And the having clause will be performed on the group. Group as how? Group by. If I have a gender declared as in my select clause, and in my gender column, I have a male and female. Grouped by female, having an aggregate. If I have an aggregate for aggregate column, if I'm aggregating a column, for instance, I have a quantity and I want to say, okay, fine, quantity, sum of quantity, sum, open bracket, the quantity column as something. I'm going to do that right now. So the having clause will be based on the output of the where clause, but the operation will be performed at the column level by grouping the result. But the where clause is not grouping anything, it's just meeting a particular condition based on what we want to use to filter our data set. Where clause, record level. Group having clause is going to be on what? On the group level. Once you declare your where statement, you group by. The having clause is going to perform the operation based on the column you are grouping by for the aggregated column that has been declared in our select statement. So let's go back to that. So that is how it works. You can apply an having clause only to columns that also appear in the group by clause or in an aggregate function. So that's that. Mr. Fash, do you have any question?
You're right.
Yeah, okay. Still executing. Okay, so let me stop this. I'll stop it. And let's go to our next line of execution is what? The where clause. Okay. So we do on where do you have an output in okay, this is the output. Okay, so which of the column do you want us to use for our where clause, where condition? Do you want us to use the actual cost? Or want us to use the other quantity? Is there any way you can check for me the transaction type? Can you check the type of transaction type that we have? The value, is it 2, 3, or what?
Transaction type is W, letter.
No. Is that the only types of transaction?
No. We have W, we have X, we have I think W and S.
X, okay, cool. So we'll group by the transaction type.
Okay.
So let's do our where clause using what? Let's use let's use the okay. Okay, let's use the quantity to Can you give me a random figure from the actual cost?
Actual costs.
Let me see from
And,
here.
go-
Actual cost. So actual cost, we have, oh my goodness, we have 22 million. Oh, it's greater than. So let's do where PT dot actual cost is greater than give me a value that I think would narrow down our result.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Let's say it's greater than 1000.00. So I'm going to copy this. I want you guys to run it again. So Mr. ID, please, you have to share the result with me. I'm so sorry for putting you through this. So initially we have 22,436,673 records. So using that, where the PT dot actual cost is greater than 1,000, let's see what we're gonna have.
I guess this record is huge. As it's still running, it's just keep running.
Oh, that's the reason why.
It's huge.
22 million. My system, this system will not be able to run 22 million.
It's huge. It's
So
huge.
have you, is this your result?
Yeah.
How many record is it? I just want you to go to the bottom of your queries. Go to here. Do you see where my cursor is?
Yes. I have to. Okay, hold on. Let me.
Give me the value, please.
It's 2 million plus.
2 million plus. Give me the exact value. Previously it's 22 million. Now it's 2 million what?
Yeah, I'll send the screenshot.
Okay. It's 2 million. Okay, 2,709,921 records. Okay, so that means we've excluded almost 21 point something, probably 19 point something million. So that's fine. So once the where clause has been achieved, what is the next thing for us to do? In the order of execution, it says group by. The remaining rows after the where constraints are applied are then grouped based on common value in the column specified in the group by clause. As a result of the grouping, there will only be as many rows as their unique value in that column. Implicitly, this means that you should only need to use this when you have aggregate function in your query. So now we have to do something. I will give you a group by code. I want you to run it. I know it's going to probably return an error because we have not included something. So let's group by what? Group by transaction type, right? So the transaction type is PT dot. Please feel free to interrupt me and answer question if you have any question, please. Mr. ID. So I want you to throw this, just add a group by PT.transaction type. I know it's going to return an error, probably. So do this. Everyone can run this as well. So let's give it a shot. This is how to learn troubleshooting. I think my own still running.
Okay. Error.
Yeah. Can you tell me the reason? Do you know the reason why it returned an error?
Yeah, because the column that we are selecting, let me see, column blah blah is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either an aggregate function or the group.
Yeah, it's simply because it is not contained an aggregate in an aggregate function. So the way to do that is this. So I want to, you know what I want to do? Before we proceed, let me share the error message. Please, if you have any question, let me know. Miss Fumi, do you have any question?
No, I also got the same error.
Okay, yeah. So let me explain the error for you. This is how to learn. So the reason why we have the error message is simply because whenever I want to use a group by function, it has to be contained in an aggregate function in the select statement. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, let's do it this way. I have a column that says student trainees, right? And Miss Fumi have like 001 ID is assigned to you. Another 001 is assigned to you. 002 is assigned to Mr. Idu. Another 002 in the same record. That means 4 records, Abi. Mr. ID and Miss Fumi have 4 records, 2 records each, right? But I want to group by you and Mr. ID. And for me to do a group by, I have to sum all the value that you have in a particular value that I can aggregate. I don't know, maybe I'm communicating. You and Miss Fumi and Mr. Heidi, both of you have a column that's very unique to you, which is your student trainee ID. Mr. Heidi ID is 001, Miss Fumi is 002. But in the student ID column, you both have two records. But for your amount paid, or for instance, maybe training purchase or whatever, for 001 record for Miss Fumi, maybe the first one is $2,000. The second record is $5,000. For Mr. ID is $2,000. The third one is $7,000. So Mr. ID has what? $9,000, right? In total. Miss Fumi has what? Maybe 6,000 or 7,000. And I want to group by you guys. So the best thing for me to do is I have to declare that table that contains the value that I can sum, or that I can average, or that I can select the max in my select statement. If I didn't declare that, it's going to return an error. So what we need to do now is this. Let me go back to the code. So what we have to do now is this. So I want to delete a lot of stuff. I just want to see the actual cost based on the transaction type. Do you get what I'm saying? So now I want to reduce my number of columns to just the actual cost so that you guys will be able to understand what I'm trying to do. So this transaction type represents Mr. Afash, Ms. Fumi, and Mr. ID. I think we have 3 different types of transaction type here, right? So that represents each and every one of the 3 people I'm using as my example. And for each of that record, so let's go to, where are we pulling the transaction type from? Which table is that? Can you, the transaction type, are we pulling from? Okay, we are pulling from this. I just want to see the type of transaction we have. So we have
in the select now, PT.
Yeah, I just want to confirm the type of transaction we have. So we have just W and X transaction. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the transaction is just 2. So I'm limiting my example to Mr. Heidi and Miss Fumi. So I want to represent Miss Fumi with W, Mr. Heidi with X. And you guys have different values, right? So what I want to do now is that I've used my where clause to filter down greater than 1,000 and my group by return an error. But my final result, I just want to see what Mr. ID and Ms. Fumi have based on their, are we using the actual cost?
You can use the actual cost.
What do you say? Are we using the actual cost?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to delete all this. I don't need all this. I only need the transaction type. I only need the transaction type. I'm going to remove this. Okay, let's do something. Let's play around something. The quantity. Let's do the quantity as well. I can do count, right? I will do count. As total count. As total quantity, rather. Total quantity. And okay, total quantity has to be closed. And I want to do the actual cost as total cost, right?
Then for the actual cost, are you summing it?
Yeah, so I'll sum it. Thank you for that. Sum. Then I will do.
No, it should be before PT.
Oh, okay, sorry. So this will be sum. Then I will close it here. So what we just did is this is what they call aggregating. Now introduce, like, we are counting, we are summing, we can select the maximum number from that value that we'll group by. Do you get what I'm saying? We can sum, we can count by the column we are performing our aggregate function. So let's take a look at this. So we have all this, we didn't have any error. We are grouping by PT. Do you think I can apply my having clause now? Let's do something first. Let's run this. Let's run this before we apply our having. Let's see if it works or not. Mr. ID, where are you? I'm about to send you a chart. Everyone should run this, please.
Is it not running on your system again at all now?
It's not going to run. This system, I don't think it will run 22 million. And I don't want to switch my computer. So tomorrow I'll use my other computer. My other computer, I have a live SQL server on it. So I have a desktop in my office. I'll have to use that.
Okay. Yeah, it worked.
So can you please share the result with us?
Okay.
Can you see that SQL is very pretty, very easy to write? It's just a decorative language. Okay. So we have just X. Why are we having X? Count. And ideally, I want to see the result for both X and W, right? That's the reason I'm grouping by. So something is really wrong here. Is it that, do you know what we're gonna do? Let's remove the count. Let's remove the count from it, and let's keep it to be just sum for the actual cost. We should be able to group by the transaction type. So remove the count from the select statement and just limit it to the sum, please. There are so many ways to do it. We might probably just leave or set our where clause to something lesser than 1,000.
It's still the same thing.
Still the
Only
same.
S.
Only
Mm.
S. Only S. Can you take the share? I want you to take the share. I'll tell you what to be doing. So it's gonna be easy.
I should do what?
Take the share. I will tell you the code to be put in.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a PT actual cost greater than 1,000.
This
Can
other
you?
one.
So can you remove? Can you change the 1,000 to greater than 500? Let's see. Still the same thing. Instead of the sum at the PT, do you want to do count? Do count. Change the sum to count. Or the actual cost, change it to count. And let's run it. So why is it bringing just the X and not the W? Can you?
Or could it
something-
be that the values that we have for W? Okay, can we check what W has?
Yes, that's what I want us to do.
Do we get
Like
anything?
that, yeah. And you don't have to do that. Just do where, use the where
Yeah.
clause for transaction type equals W to see if you have something for W. Then if not,
Okay.
and transaction type.
Let me open this one now.
The transaction type equals W.
That'll be like a string, right?
Yeah, single quote. Yeah, run it. If it doesn't give us any result, that shows that the value for W might be. Yeah,
Okay.
so we have.
Mm.
Oh. So do you see what happened now?
The
So
cost is 0.
it's 0. Yes. So you know
Ah,
what you know what we're gonna do?
Then maybe we should remove
Yes, we should remove that.
this where.
Yeah.
So
So we can do PT dot actual cost is greater than or equals to 0.00. That should be able to handle that.
Must we even use actual cost? Can't you use quantity? Yeah.
Okay, let's use quantity then. When the quantity is you have to make sure when the quantity is is greater than, let's do greater than 13.
13, right?
Yes.
Count, okay. I want to see around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what I'm trying to do. So I want you to reintroduce the sum that we deleted the other time. Sum of cost and count of quantity. Yeah. So let's give it a run. That should be it. Yeah, you can see it's working now, right? So now we have grouped by Mr. Idowu and Miss Fumi. We are able to count the total quantity, right? and we are able to sum the total actual cost. Do you guys have any question before we proceed?
Yeah, my understanding from what you read here.
Mr. ID, can you just paste the code into the chat? Someone in the
Okay.
the one you just ran, just paste it here. Paste into the chat. Okay, that's it. So go ahead. I think you have a question. You can go
yeah.
ahead.
So what I want to say is that my own understanding,
Yeah.
and from what we are talking about, is it group by, right?
Yes, group by.
Oh,
We are talking about the where group by. Yeah.
Say the remaining rows after the whereby constraint are applied are then grouped based on common values in the columns in the group by clause. There will only be as many rows as there are unique values in the column. So the way I understand it is that whatever we are going to have here, one, to be able to make use of this, we must have aggregate function.
Yes.
In this place, either
like
some,
we are summarizing.
So
yes.
we are now using this one now to
split it into into the value in the transaction type.
So okay, go ahead.
So if our transaction type has 4 different values, so our record is going to be 4 records. So aggregate is like doing we are trying to find the mean of a frequency. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, okay, give me the average of all this value in this record based on Mr. Heidi's value. Do you get what I'm saying? Like in a population, for Mr. Heidi, you have a sample in each, maybe it is 500 records. You have 250 records. Miss Fumi have 250 records, right? And we want to summarize, okay, fine. What is the total value that is being generated for either of you? So the best way for us to go about that is to introduce the aggregate function in the select statement so that we'll be able to count. We can also average whatever you have. We can sum it. I can select the maximum and I can also select the minimum. For the aggregate function in SQL, we can only perform 5 operations. We can count, we can average, we can sum, we can select the minimum, and we can select the maximum. These are interview questions.
Okay, now in the situation whereby we had another column here.
Yeah.
And it's not in this group by line of code. Will it run?
You can give it a shot. So let's take a look at what we can add to it. Let's put the PW stock quantity. Put it there. It's not going to hurt. Let's put it there. Put it in the select. Put it after the.
Sorry,
no.
I don't want it to affect
this one. Okay. So the production order stock quantity is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either. So let's do something now. Because it is not in an aggregated form. So let's do, or just leave it, don't delete it. Let's do average. Let's do average.
For this particular one?
Yes. Do AVG, open bracket and close it, as average quantity. AVG quantity. Write it together. Okay, 2, 1. Yeah. Give it a shot. Let's see if it's going to run. It works?
Works. Then what of okay, that is another one. If we are not using as part of the aggregate the columns where we are applying the array function on. Let's assume we just have it like this, and possibly we put the two together here.
Yeah. So what do you derive from this?
Now, what I'm bringing out of it is that whatever column that we are going to use in this group by,
Yes,
it's
it must
either
be.
an aggregate, part of the aggregate function where we are here, the aggregate function, or not it might be okay. We have all the, how would I even put it now?
Do you know what I want you to do?
Put
the average back on the PW stock quantity,
No,
and
we
let's
have-
see how it behaves, and also group by it in the group by.
Oh, okay.
Let's see how it behaves. So if you take a look at the stock quantity, what he's trying to do is that if you have if you are grouping by, for instance, we have two types of gender, let's say based on our own religion, stuff like that. We have male and female, right? We have some other people that are identifying themselves as transgender or whatever. Let's assume we have male and female. In the transaction type, in the gender type, whenever we are grouping by it, the value in the gender column is what is going to group by. So if you are grouping by the stock quantity, if you have 1,000 values that are unique, that is what is going to group by.
Okay, is that not what I should do?
Yes, so give it a run. Let's see. So can you see what happened? This is exactly what I'm trying to explain to you.
Because it's, instead of having it as just W and S alone, it's like still splitting it.
Yes. And we have the average quantity for W. Okay. So basically, grouping by the PW stock, you can see how it behaves. Instead of having one value for W, it has the number of W occurrences in the stock quantity. That's the reason why you have the WS, WW. But I doubt it. This is not going to pass the code review. Do you get what I'm saying? Because by the time the code review person check, like, yes, this is the right one. So for the sake of interview, at times there's always like a kind of a test that they will send you like a time exam. They will give you all this kind of scenario and they will tell you to choose the right answer based on the group by. I've came across that so many times. So we need to pay attention to all this. So let's go to the next. Can I take the share?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go to the next line of execution. So the next line of execution is what? Having. It says if the query has a group by clause, then the constraint in the having clause are then applied to the grouped rows. Grouped rows. Discard the group rows that don't.
You can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. So the next line of execution is having, the having clause. So the having clause, it says if the query has a group by clause, a group by clause. Then the constraints in the having clause are then applied to the grouped rows. To the grouped rows. So what are the grouped rows? You know, we have W, we have S, right? When we apply the group by, what it did was that it take the total for all the W and it give us a single record, right? And now, if for instance, Mr. ID, I want you to go back to your result. Go back to your report, to your result, the one you ran that gave us the average and something. Take the share again. I think, let me stop sharing. Take the share again, please. So I just leave it that way. I want to explain from your output result. We have the transaction type, we have the average quantity, we have the total quantity, we have the total cost. So what having does is just this. Okay, fine. I just want to see total cost that is greater than, do you get what I'm saying? Total cost that is greater than maybe 1,000 or total cost that is greater than 200. That is how the having clause works. So if you want to do that, you will go back to your select statement and fetch one of those that have the aggregate function. Let's do sum open bracket pt dot actual cost in Koyo. That's the only thing I want you to pick. That's yes, copy it and go down and to the next line and say having, then paste that greater than let's do probably 1,000. No, I didn't have access to the data sets. Greater than 1,000. Then what do you think we can do? Just execute that. Let's see if it is going to run. Can you tell me what happened? You know, before we have SW that have 0.00, right? But in my having clause, I specify that I just want to say the sum that is greater than what?
1,000.
Greater than 1,000. That was the reason why it discarded the W row record from the output. But for the sake of this answer, Mr. ID, please paste that code. I think by now you should have an idea what the having is doing. We can also use the having clause to filter based on what we want to do, but we can only apply that to only declared aggregated column in the select statement. You want to put a comment, right? I think it should be / and asked. Okay, yes, that's how to comment it. Yeah, you can put a comment.
So what did you say?
Yeah, so the having clause,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that the having clause was applied to the pre-declared aggregated column in the select statement. So what it does is this. If, for instance, I want to base my output to be based on a particular value that my boss has given to me, Abe, you know what? I just want to say the sum greater than 2,000. I don't want to see don't sum any record that has $500 or anything. Sum only the record that have $5,000 for me, and I want to know the total. Do you get it now? So it will delete all the sums that are lesser than 1,000 and aggregate all the ones that from 1,000 and above. So for the sake of this class, I want to use the order by as well. So Mr. Heidi, this is what we're going to do for me. In the having sum, I want you to change that greater than 1,000 to less than I want you to change that to, let's do, because I want to see the X and W again. Let's do, let's do less than, greater than. Let's do greater than 0. I think greater than 0 should be able to bring in the S, the W. Run it.
Okay. Is it 0 point something?
Yeah, do 0.00. Yeah. Okay, so I want to get something. Before we apply the having sum, can you comment the having sum out? I want to see. Okay, just run it that way. So we have 0.00. Oh, greater than 0.00 will not report return. Greater than or equals. Put equals. Okay. Greater than or equals. No. Greater than equals. The greater than equals will be in front of the greater than. Yeah. Yeah. Run it. It should run now. Just logic. So now, for instance, if your boss want to tell you, okay, you know what? Whatever total you want to perform, the total on your having, it's not going to tell you that on your having sum, but it will tell you, you know what? I just want to see the total for any record or any transaction that is greater than $500. Then you should know that you will use your having clause to do that. If you have all other things that you still have to filter by, don't forget that we use where clause and having clause together. Do you get what I'm saying? The where clause can handle what? Non-integer. Yes or no? The where clause can also handle integer because I can specify where my column is between so value to so value. Yes, I can say where my value is between 2 and 200. The where clause can handle both string filtering and integer filtering. I can use my where clause to filter on a string, like characters, like letters. I can also use it to filter on numbers. But whenever you are performing an aggregate function that needs to be filtered or to be narrowed down to a particular value, that is when you will use what? The having clause. And now, Mr. ID, I want you to throw in the last statement, which is going to be our what? Can someone tell me that?
Order by.
Order by, yes. So based on what we're seeing now, can you tell me which order the output result is?
Is it
descending? This is descending, yeah. This is descending because we have the we have descending for the total cost. So the total cost is what we are looking at. So do order by total cost. So I want someone to tell me what this thing. Do you remember when we wrote some code in the VBA in Excel? When we do our micro writing of how to record the macro in Excel, and we wrote some code in the VB, right? The VB. Do you know the way we generated the VB trying to write build our own customized function in Excel? The total cost is equivalent to it. I don't know, maybe you know. You know, we are
Because
trying to
we
put,
derive
yes, they are derived column, derived entity, derived function. So that is what the total cost is also doing. So now order by total cost in ascending order, just put ASC and give it a run. Let's see. So you can see now the total cost started from what? From 0, from the smallest to the highest. And just do that. Okay. So let's wait and confirm if what Mr. Fat said is true or not. It says it's because it is not a predefined column in a table, right? So let's do something. Let's see, column as total quantity. Okay. You are writing a code, not quite long, and the derived table, the alias pop up. I don't know, maybe you know.